When Sarah's niece Emily arrived at the family's lake cabin for a quiet weekend, she didn't expect to be greeted by police lights and a furious HOA president accusing her of trespassing, only for the officers to discover Emily wasn't just a visitor, but the legal owner of the property. What unfolded was a tangle of mistaken identities, HOA power trips, and a surprising twist that left the neighborhood stunned. It all started last summer at Lakeview Estates, a small, gated community nestled around a serene lake about an hour from the city. Sarah had been coming to the cabin since she was a kid, back when her parents bought it in the late 80s. The cabin wasn't anything fancy, just a cozy 2-bedroom retreat with a wraparound porch and a dock that had seen better days. But it was theirs, a family heirloom filled with memories of fishing trips, late-night bonfires, and her dad teaching her how to skip stones across the water. When Sarah's parents passed away a few years ago, the cabin went to Sarah, and she cherished it just as much as they had. Sarah's niece, Emily, was 25 and had always been close to the family. She'd spent her childhood summers at the cabin with Sarah's kids, splashing in the lake and roasting marshmallows. Emily had recently gone through a rough patch, a bad breakup and a stressful job in the city, so Sarah suggested she take a weekend to unwind at the cabin. "It's yours to use any time," Sarah had told her. "Just go clear your head." What Sarah didn't mention because it hadn't seemed relevant was that she'd recently transferred the cabin's deed to Emily as part of some estate planning. Sarah figured it was a practical move. Emily loved the place and it would stay in the family. The paperwork was finalized a month ago, but Sarah hadn't gotten around to telling Emily yet. It was supposed to be a surprise. Emily packed a small bag, tossed it in her beat-up hatchback, and drove up to Lakeview Estates on a Friday afternoon. She was looking forward to a quiet weekend, maybe some reading on the porch, a dip in the lake, and no Wi-Fi to remind her of work emails. The community's gate code hadn't changed in years, so she punched it in, drove through, and pulled into the gravel driveway of the cabin. The place looked just as she remembered. The faded blue paint, the creaky steps, the old canoe leaning against the shed. She smiled, feeling a weight lift off her shoulders as she unlocked the front door with the spare key Sarah had given her. Unbeknownst to Emily, someone was watching. Karen Mitchell, the HOA president, lived 2 cabins down. Karen was in her late 50s, impeccably dressed even on a casual day, with a reputation for running Lakeview Estates like her personal fiefdom. She'd been HOA president for 6 years and took her role seriously. Too seriously, some neighbors whispered. Karen had a habit of patrolling the neighborhood in her golf cart, clipboard in hand, ready to issue citations for untrimmed hedges, unauthorized lawn ornaments, or in one infamous case, a mailbox painted the wrong shade of beige. The community had fewer than 30 cabins, so Karen knew every owner by name, or so she thought. Karen didn't recognize Emily. She hadn't seen her at the cabin in years, not since Emily was a teenager. From her porch, Karen squinted at the unfamiliar car in the driveway and the young woman stepping out. To Karen, Emily didn't look like she belonged. Her casual hoodie and ripped jeans didn't scream lake cabin owner in Karen's mind. Suspicious, Karen grabbed her phone and dialed the local sheriff's office. "There's a trespasser at the Johnson cabin," she reported, her voice sharp with certainty. "Some young girl just walked in like she owns the place. I need someone out here now." Within 20 minutes, 2 sheriff's deputies pulled up to the cabin. Emily was inside, unpacking her bag and brewing a pot of coffee, when she heard a firm knock at the door. She opened it to find 2 officers, a man and a woman, standing on the porch. Behind them, parked on the lawn, was Karen's golf cart, with Karen herself standing nearby, arms crossed, looking triumphant. "Good afternoon, ma'am," the male deputy, Officer Reynolds, said. "We received a report of a possible trespass at this property. Can you confirm you have permission to be here?" Emily blinked, confused. "I'm sorry, what? This is my aunt's cabin. I'm just here for the weekend." Karen stepped forward, her voice carrying over the deputies. "This is the Johnson family cabin, and I know for a fact you're not part of that family. I've lived here for years, and I've never seen you before. Who are you, and how did you get the gate code?" Emily's confusion turned to irritation. I'm Emily Carter, Sarah Johnson's niece. I've been coming here since I was a kid. I don't know what your problem is, but I have every right to be here." Karen scoffed. "Likely story. The Johnsons don't just let random people use their cabin. I'm the HOA president, and I know every owner in this community. You're not one of them." Officer Reynolds raised a hand to calm the situation. "Ma'am, can you provide any proof that you're authorized to be here? Maybe a key, a lease, or some documentation?" Emily hesitated. She had the key, of course, but she didn't have any paperwork on hand. Sarah hadn't mentioned anything about transferring the deed, so Emily had no idea she was the legal owner. "I have the key," she said, holding it up. "And I can call my aunt right now to confirm." Karen wasn't having it. "Anyone can get a key copied," she snapped. "This is a private community, and we've had issues with squatters before. I'm not letting some stranger waltz in here and claim they belong." The female deputy, Officer Lopez, turned to Karen. "Mrs. Mitchell will handle this. Please step back." She then looked at Emily. "Let's call your aunt and sort this out. Do you have her number?" Emily nodded, pulling out her phone. She dialed Sarah, who picked up after a couple of rings. "Hey you at the cabin already?" Sarah's voice was cheerful, oblivious to the drama unfolding. "Aunt Sarah, there are cops here," Emily said, trying to keep her voice steady. "Some lady from the HO called them, saying I'm trespassing. Can you tell them I'm allowed to be here?" Sarah was stunned. "Trespassing? What on earth? Put me on speaker." Emily handed the phone to Officer Reynolds, who listened as Sarah explained that Emily was her niece and had full permission to use the cabin. "She's family," Sarah said firmly. "I gave her the key myself. What's going on?" Karen, overhearing the conversation, doubled down. "That doesn't prove anything. People lie all the time. I want to see proof of ownership. This cabin belongs to the Johnson family, and I know Sarah Johnson personally. This girl isn't her." Officer Lopez, sensing the situation escalating, asked Sarah, "Ma'am, can you confirm ownership of the property? We just need to clear this up." Sarah paused, then said something that made everyone freeze. "Actually, the cabin isn't in my name anymore. I transferred the deed to Emily last month. She's the owner now." Emily's jaw dropped. "Wait, what? Aunt Sarah, you didn't tell me that." Sarah laughed nervously. I know, it was supposed to be a surprise. I figured I'd tell you in person next time we saw each other. I have the paperwork at home. I can send you a copy if you need it." Officer Reynolds handed the phone back to Emily and turned to his partner. "Sounds like we need to verify ownership. Mrs. Mitchell, do you have access to the HOA records?" Karen's face reddened. "Well, yes, but I don't have them with me right now. I know the Johnsons own that cabin. This girl can't possibly." "Let's check the county records," Officer Lopez interrupted, pulling out her tablet. She accessed the online property database and typed in the cabin's address. Sure enough, the records showed the deed had been transferred to Emily Carter on June 15, 2025. "It checks out," Lopez said, showing the screen to Reynolds. "Emily Carter is the listed owner." Karen's mouth opened, then closed. She looked like she'd been slapped. That's impossible," she stammered. "I would have known if the ownership changed. The HOA has to be notified." Sarah, still on speaker, chimed in. "Actually, Karen, I sent the HOA an email about the transfer. You responded saying you'd update the records. Did you not get around to it?" Karen's face went from red to purple. I must have missed it," she muttered, but it was clear she hadn't. She'd either ignored the email or forgotten to follow through, and now she was standing in front of two deputies and the very person she'd accused of trespassing, looking like a fool. Officer Reynolds turned to Emily. "Ma'am, it looks like this was a misunderstanding. You're the legal owner, and you have every right to be here. We're sorry for the inconvenience." Emily, still processing the fact that she now owned the cabin, nodded. "It's okay. I didn't know I was the owner until 5 minutes ago." The deputies turned to Karen. "Mrs. Mitchell, in the future, Please verify your information before calling us. False reports waste everyone's time. Karen mumbled an apology, climbed into her golf cart, and sped off without another word. Emily stood on the porch, watching her go, still clutching her phone. The deputies wished her a good weekend and drove away, leaving her alone with a quiet lake and a lot to process. When Emily called Sarah back later that evening, the two had a long conversation. Sarah explained that she'd transferred the deed because she wanted Emily to have something stable, something that was hers. "You've always loved that cabin," Sarah said. "And I know you'll take care of it. Plus, it's one less thing for me to worry about with taxes and upkeep." Emily was touched but still a little overwhelmed. "I can't believe you didn't tell me," she said. "And I can't believe that lady called the cops on me." Sarah laughed. "Oh, Karen's always been like that. She's got a good heart, but she's got this need to control everything. I bet she's mortified right now." The next morning, Emily woke up to a knock at the door. She braced herself, half expecting another confrontation, but it was just a neighbor, Tom, who lived across the street. He was in his 60s, with a kind smile and a thermos of coffee in hand. "Heard about the ruckus yesterday," he said. "Karen's been telling everyone you're a trespasser. I figured I'd come introduce myself and see if you're okay." Emily invited him in, and over coffee, Tom filled her in on the neighborhood dynamics. Karen had a history of jumping to conclusions, he said. A few years ago, she'd called the cops on a renter who turned out to be a friend of an owner. Another time, she'd tried to fine a family for parking their boat trailer on their own property. "She means well," Tom said, echoing Sarah, "but she's got a short fuse and a long memory." Emily decided to let the incident go. She wasn't one for confrontation, and she just wanted to enjoy her weekend. But the story spread through Lakeview Estates like wildfire. By Sunday, neighbors were stopping by to introduce themselves, some out of curiosity, others to apologize for Karen's behavior. One couple even brought over a homemade pie as a welcome to the neighborhood gesture. Karen, meanwhile, stayed quiet. She didn't show up at the cabin again, and her golf cart patrols seemed to avoid Emily's street. But at the next HOA meeting, which Emily attended out of curiosity, Karen was noticeably subdued. When the topic of property records came up, she quickly moved on, avoiding eye contact with Emily. Emily didn't stay long at the meeting. She wasn't interested in HOA politics or getting involved in the community's drama. She just wanted to enjoy the cabin. Her cabin, she reminded herself. Over the next few weeks, she started making plans to fix up the place. The dock needed repairs, and the porch could use a fresh coat of paint. She even thought about adding a swing, something she'd always wanted as a kid. Sarah visited a month later, and the two of them sat on the porch, laughing about the whole ordeal. "You know," Sarah said, "I should have warned you about Karen. But I didn't think she'd go that far." Emily shrugged. "It's fine. I mean, it was stressful, but it makes for a good story. And honestly, I kind of like being the owner who showed up out of nowhere." The cabin became Emily's sanctuary. She started spending more weekends there, inviting friends, hosting small barbecues, and even fixing up the old canoe. The neighbors got to know her, and most of them were warm and welcoming. Karen never apologized directly, but she did send a curt email to the HOA listserv, reminding everyone to double-check records before reporting issues. It was as close to an admission of fault as anyone expected from her.